missing someone. With all your
Hello, welcome back. It's Angelina Manukian, and today we're going to continue on with The Fault in Our Stars summary. This time it's going to be 11 to 15. Just a quick preview like I do in my last two videos. This is a school project, and it's a 5-video series, and each one's going to do 5 chapters of The Fault in Our Stars, summarizing it for the first 5 to 7 minutes. Then the rest of the time, it'll be me giving my commentary and my side on this summary. If you haven't seen the first 2 videos, go check them out. They're both 10 minutes long, and they'll really help you out if you need it. And before we start, this book is Fault in Our Stars by John Green. So we continue on where Hazel's mom, and Augustus land in Amsterdam. Just as a quick background, they're there because they want to talk to this author, and they all flew to Amsterdam. All 3 of them stay at a hotel where the rooms, Augustus' floor ahead of Hazel's shared room with her mother, are all named after great philosophers. You can find that on page 157. Hazel's mom wants to see the park, but Hazel is so tired that she goes to sleep with the BiPAP, and when she wakes up, she finds that her mom waited by her the whole time. She announces that Hazel and Augustus will be going to a nice dinner that night, arranged by the author's assistant. Hazel then, she dresses up. She wears a sweet, beautiful dress. When she opens the door to her room, she finds Augustus in a beautiful, well-tailored black suit. So, she's shocked, he's shocked, they both look good. And Hazel asks if that suit he wears to funerals, and he lightly says that the suit isn't really this nice. Basically saying, the suit isn't even all that. You can find that on page 160. Then they go on the tram watching light petal Elm Street seeds blow around in the air. They go to the restaurant, and Hazel and Augustus are escorted to a canal side table and given a complimentary champagne. So, because, the author's assistant paid for it. Even though there's a little bit of tension there, they are able to change the subject and find that the author paid for their whole meal. So basically they got complimentary champagne, and their whole meal is paid by the author himself, not even by the assistant, by the author. He set it up so that they can have some time together, and then whenever they visit him, they can be compatible. Then when they're finally done with that perfect dinner, they sit on a park bench together, leaning into one another, her head is on his shoulder and his head's on her head. They sit on a park bench together, basically, and Hazel asks about his ex, Coraline. And Augustus finally tells the story of how he saw her on the hospital playground from his hospital room while he was moody and miserable because of her personality or because of her cancer, and it's a specific effect on her mind and emotions. Basically, she was depressed. He wasn't. He was watching her look depressed. Slowly, as he got better, she got worse, and he stayed together with her even in her last year of life, when she would call him names and even repeat the same mean things over and over due to short-term memory problems. So, meaning he would get constantly reminded about the things that she said that are rude because she doesn't remember saying it. Even though Hazel told him several times that she doesn't want to hurt him like that, Augustus said that it would be a privilege to have my heart broken by you, and you can find that on page 176. Hazel didn't sleep the best, and the next day, they eat a deli meat-filled breakfast in their room and then prepare for their exciting day. If you don't know, their exciting day is going to talk to the author of their favorite book and ask him why he left a page of the book just not continuing, and they want to know how it continues. So that's why they traveled all the way to Amsterdam, and that's where they are now. And Hazel gets into her outfit, and she tries to dress as much as she can like Anna, which is the protagonist of the book. And finally, for once, Hazel and Augustus split from Hazel's mom, and they go to his house, the author's house. But the author's house is very loud, and there are bass beats playing very loudly, and they kept on knocking on his door each time more aggressively, to the point where they had to slam the door to get his attention. And then whenever he finally heard it, he opened the door, the author. He pops out his head and then slams the door on their face, yelling at her for inviting them to his house. Finally, he opens the door, speaking to them harshly but ushering them inside. So he's not the nicest person with the nicest attitude, but you know the saying, never meet your heroes, so I guess they were shocked. Whenever they walk in, they notice that his house is weird, and he has a black garbage bag full of 18 years of fan mail that he doesn't read. He offers them alcohol a few times whenever they were there, progressively getting drunker every time he asks, even in the early morning, but they keep on saying, no, we don't want your wine. We don't want any of your alcohol, seeing how it makes you. He even insults their intelligence whenever they're there. He says everything but the answer that they were looking for, and he keeps on blabbering. And finally, whenever they get to that question to ask him, he doesn't answer it. While playing Swedish rap in the background and being drunk out of his mind, he refuses to answer. And it got crazy so much to the point where Hazel had to step forward and yell at him for the answer and smack the glass out of his hand so he can stop drinking and focus on them for a second. Then it doesn't turn out very good, and Hazel and Gus have to escape. Hazel cries as they walk, and Gus promises to write her an apology himself because he bring her all this way. Then the assistant runs up behind them, asking to take them sightseeing herself at Anne Frank's house, and Hazel consents. So, it's a different trip. Wanting to still make the most out of their trip, they go. Then the assistant confesses that she set up their whole trip mostly herself, hoping that seeing how his book affected them would break him from his alcoholic downward spiral. And she told them this, and they were kind of invested in listening. Whenever they got there, they had to go up a spiral of stairs, and even though it was difficult for Hazel, she pushes herself through and gets up. But her lungs were just not doing it. Hazel and Augustus see it, they like it, and now the assistant drives them back to their hotel. And once there, Hazel suggests that they go to Augustus's room. And during that, Hazel looks at Augustus to find him in pain. But they just skip from that, and you find them kissing each other in the hallway as he gets out his room key. In his room, they're limited by Hazel's attachment to her oxygen tank, but, Basically, they sleep together, and you can find that on page 207. Augustus falls asleep after, and Hazel leaves quietly, writing him a love letter on her way out, like a funny one. The next day, all three of them go to get breakfast, the mom and the two of them. They tell Hazel's mom about how rude and obnoxious he was, and she doesn't like how he acted. Basically, in this unfortunate event, they fly home, but forgetting complimentary champagne and a fit of intense pain in Gus's chest. They get home, and Hazel talks to her dad about the book because he read it while she was gone. Meanwhile, they go to Isaac's house while he's emotional about Monica and his ex, and they never talked. Yeah, they broke up. I know, it's crazy. Even though he was blind, he pushes through and goes to the store, gets eggs, and starts egging her car. Monica's mom even saw, but after Augustus explained how he's blind and he will never do anything like this ever again, she lets them continue. A few days later, Augustus's family and Hazel's family all eat dinner together. But a week later, Gus ends up in the ER with chest pain. Now he needs to be in a wheelchair. And Hazel waits outside, but she can't go in. 2 weeks later, she wheels him back to his house with a bottle of champagne and notes, last time I imagined myself in a wheelchair was when I was a kid. You can find that on page 233. So that's it of chapters 11 to 15 summary. And if you don't know what's going on, go back and watch chapters 1 and 5 and chapter 6 and 10 summary because it'll make a lot more sense, and I think you'll like this book. This book is an emotional roller coaster, and something new is happening left and right, so you have to be aware. This book is one of my favorites, and I would highly suggest that you read it.